All right, the watch list for March 30th, which will be Wednesday. Pretty impressive move in the SPY today after a small gap down, just rallied all day up into recent highs. We'll see if it follows through tomorrow. Here's the watch list. Just a quick reminder, when I put together a watch list, I don't know how the market's going to trade tomorrow. I don't know if any of these are going to set up intraday. And so I may or may not trade any of these tomorrow. And I'll show you Weight Watchers from, it was in the video last night, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. But there's an example of one that I can show you that gave an intraday setup and how I called it in the chat, so you can get an idea of what we try to do. But here's the watch list, TMST. Green day, red day, green day, and it's back up near that 3-day high. I like it, potential catalyst would just be a break of today's high, which would be 908. And then 923 would be the high from be a break of the high from a few days ago. And then maybe this moves up back to 10. Again, this is, every time I put this on, it's because I'm watching X, US Steel, AK Steel, NUE. These are all pretty strong. X is really kind of impressive in its strength lately. So if X gets over these recent highs up into the 1630s, it might make a nice move. I think there's a lot of shorts in that one, but I'm not positive. So I'm kind of watching X, and my secondary play would be TMST over this 3-day high. All right, so that's one. If steel moves, that's one I'm watching. Lumber liquidators, LL. This has just got a pretty clearly defined 3-day high. You had 1323, 1322, and then today it got up to 1327-ish. But it had come a long way from the lows to get up there, so I wouldn't have expected it to break out when it got to that area after the move it had already made. But it is interesting if it can get back over today's high tomorrow in the 1328, 1329 area. This one might just start heading back up. It had a really nice move about a week ago. SZYM, a nice bounce today off the 20-day and a nice solid close. Just watching for a continuation of the bounce over 205. It looks interesting. I'm not in love with that one. It's pretty low volume stock, but it's worth watching. ALDR had the 15 million in volume a couple days ago, and then kind of a more quiet inside day today that just goes on bounce watch. Sometimes that third day gets going again. So that's ALDR. That one can be spready, so be careful with it. SXE. You've got, after this nice 2-day move, you're down 1, 2, 3, 3 lower highs on the daily. I like it over 115 over today's high tomorrow, or just a potential bounce play. CPXX had a really crazy move, actually a really crazy move altogether here, but then the continuation was really impressive. And now you're down for a few days. You kind of have the gap fill here. You're nearing the 8-day, so I want to watch that for a potential bounce. That's CPXX. And then to Weight Watchers, WTW, that I talked about. In the video last night, I said I liked it over, I think, 1370. Let me show you how it opened today and how I called it. So remember, knowing that I like this over 1370, and then I said 1375 break would be your next catalyst, and the next break over 1385. So you had stacked catalysts, what we call, right? So this is the opening 5-minute candle. So you can tell there's 3 candles formed there. For 15 minutes, it stayed within its opening 5-minute range. Knowing that I like it over 1370, I was pretty comfortable calling it after 15 minutes on just a high of day break at 1364, knowing you had boom, boom, and boom. You had like 3 dominoes that were pretty close to be knocked down, which could have given it more upside. All right, so that's the way I called it. 1364, 1350 in the chat room. Put it out with an audible alert and the price and stop. I put 1364, 1350. Popped up to 1380 pretty quickly. Did a little, kind of a retest to the breakout area, and then the rest of the day just kind of grinded higher very nicely. And I'm watching it again tomorrow for just a continuation, maybe a red to green or something. It's got nice support below now and a nice little pop today. This one, I said in chat, this looked good for an intraday, but also for a possible swing if it closes strong. I don't hold anything overnight, but it does look good. If anyone caught that from my 1364 idea, and it closes at 1435, you're sitting with a nice cushion for a swing, at least on part of the trade. But again, I'm all out, had a nice trade in it. YRD was on the watch list yesterday, and it's just a quiet day today. I still like it over 10, might get to all-time highs. VCEL, Really strong again today. I mean, if you take today's candle out of it, this thing looked like, okay, it's finally topped and it's going to come back. It's way ahead of itself. And then a nice, powerful day. So I don't have any kind of, oh, here's a great price to go long tomorrow. I want to watch it trade. But I do like the way it's holding up. So that just goes on watch. And then kind of another quiet stock, CDRB. Had this gap up on volume back here. And it ran to, let's see, how high did it go? 579. Then you had a lower high. Then you had a nice little break of that lower high yesterday, and it went to 497. Then you had a kind of a quiet inside day today. So I like it as a bounce play. If it can trade in a narrow range and break its early high, this one looks good for maybe another move higher, or it also looks good over today's high, which was 459. So this gets up to 460. That's an interesting area too, but to me it's more important to watch it on an intraday basis than worry about that 460 and see if it gives a setup. You know what, that's it. We're going to watch for gappers in the morning as well, but that's enough to watch as far as the as far as the overnight watch list, because as you probably know, a lot of times none of these set up, right? Or we don't get a low risk setup on an intraday basis, so a lot of times I won't get a trade in very many of these on the watch list, but it doesn't cost me anything to have them on a chart, and then if things set up right, we can get a Weight Watchers type trade in addition to the gap plays that we stock. All right, so I'll leave it at that, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.